as the grant money starts to flow a little bit more for those families. They're looking for grants of $150,000 to help them rebuild their homes.
Mark Pfeiffer, 319 Fifth Avenue. Before the other comments start, I just wanted to mention that I took first-hand use today of our fine 911 system. First aid squad and police. I fell in my kitchen, got a gash in my head. They came, they fixed me up, they got me over to the hospital, and he had 8 stitches over here. Everybody was fantastic. They were great. So just wanted to I saw a few weeks ago, somebody, I think, Councilman McGovern mentioned, or somebody mentioned about the storage units, the beach units coming back. I saw they made use of one of the military vehicles, and it was a flatbed. I just thought how efficient that was. Instead of us having to load up more individual like they would do, they used the flatbed truck to load up a bunch of the beach markets. So, no other comments tonight. Thanks.
Heavy arguments take place. I'd like to thank the
Just name and address for
Sure, Peter Pyro, 300 West Boulevard. I'd like to thank Mike Smith and Kevin of the DPW staff who worked in the hot sun to demolish the bad grass that's along West Boulevard, put in some stones, put in some bushes. They asked us to volunteer. Colleen was out there and missed her by a couple of minutes. We got our hands dirty, the fingernails will finally get clean. Kevin is a very knowledgeable groundskeeper kind of person who explained why some plants had to be there and why some plants had to be there, why some grasses will grow. In fact, Kevin will tell you ad nauseum why some grasses will grow. He's a very knowledgeable man, and I just want to say thank you for that.
I have so much I want to say, and I know I have limited time, so I'll try to be brief on everything. I came in a little late. Did we cancel the EPIC contract? As I was told that. It was on the resolution calendar. Okay, so it was done. Okay. I came in late, as I said. I apologize. I'll try to do this in order of importance. Jim, thank you very much for your service on the council. I haven't always come to the meetings, but since I've been here, you have been a voice of reason. I can tell you've done your homework. It sparked a lot of groundroots campaigning in town to get the people heard and actually listened to. And so I want to thank you for your time at the council. Maybe you're afraid that taxpayers will have to pay for this lawsuit. My understanding is if you just rescind the ordinance, the lawsuit goes away. So all you have to do if you want to save all these fine people money is rescind the ordinance, and that will go away. We also won't be forced to another referendum, which you forced last time, which cost $17,000 to all these people that you want to save money. Rescind the ordinance, and all of those financial burdens will go away with it. The other thing I'm really curious about the ordinance. You all at the last meeting were defending it, saying, but the ordinance wasn't even in place when we gave EPIC the contract for the pavilion. The ordinance wasn't even passed yet when we gave EPIC the contract, or when we went out to bid on the ordinance. If that's the case, why is it so important to have that ordinance in place now? We built the boardwalk without it. We went out to bid twice on the pavilions without it. We have a town who's, been growing for 100 years without it. Why is it so important to have that ordinance on the books now?
Yeah. Thank you.
We can have it both ways, that it's really important that we have experienced workers who know how to hit a nail and who are going to give us the best product that we can get, but also say that the ordinance wasn't on the books when we went out to bid. So why, you can't have it both ways. Which way is it? That we need experienced workers in town? Or that it wasn't on the books when we went out to bid on the pavilion? If that's the case, why weren't the pavilions?
I think this ordinance makes it better, so that going on into the future, we are more inclined to get quality work from people that have been trained. Now, maybe we took chances in the past and we got it, and we did well. They built the boardwalk extremely well, very happy with it. But there have been times, there have been projects in Belmar that we took the lowest bidder and the project was not done as well as it could have been done. So by passing this ordinance, I think we have a better chance in the future of getting quality work. That's all.
Then why,
Sometimes you want to
Councilman
change.
Walker, why did you vote yes to award a contract on the pavilions without this ordinance already in place? Why didn't you vote no and say, you know what?
No, because I
we talked
wanted
about this
the
ordinance.
pavilions work. There are references of other work that they've done in New Jersey. They built Rutgers Stadium. I've been to Rutgers Stadium, saw football games. I'm impressed with Rutgers Stadium. Same company. I wanted the pavilions built.
Okay,
Didn't
so
happen.
it wasn't important then.
It was important that we get the buildings
You saw this
built.
company, but what about everybody else who wanted to bid? It wasn't important to get bidders who were going to be the best workers and
We had other bidders.
I'm running out of time, so I want to move on. I got Ms. Dykey's letter. It was very nicely written. I know your heart was in the right place. I just want to know if the facts are in the right place. You said that it's about the people, not politics. There are rumors running rampant that you're running for higher office next year. Either freeholder or assemblyman. You can laugh. I want to go on the record. Are you planning on running for office after you run for mayor next month?
No.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that because debt, a lot like lies, get stale, they don't have a long shelf life, and they start to smell. So I think our debt is going to start to smell pretty soon and start coming due. I'd like to know when our debt that we've incurred to date since Sandy is going to start coming due. And I wanted to make sure you're going to be here when that happens. when is it
Vote
going
for
to come due? Huh?
Vote for it.
Oh, believe me. I'm going to vote for the right person. So when is that debt going to come due? I'm sure you've talked to the business administrator and the CFO.
It comes due on a rolling basis. To date, we've paid in $18.17 million for the total debt we have from Santa.
All the debt being how much? We only have $25 million worth of debt and we've paid 18.7?
Storm related, that's what you asked.
Yeah, well, that's a good start. Okay. And by paying off all the cars that we bought and paying off the building of the boardwalk, which I understand we're paying $10 million for now, that we only have less than $10 million left. And
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's great. Know where those $40–50 million numbers come from. So let's take Sandy-related debt out of it. The debt that this town is in right now is about how much? Debt do we have? You don't know?
I can find out.
Can you give me a ballpark?
I'm not going to give you a ballpark. I can find out if I give you an exact number.
Okay, so, and then can you also maybe figure out when that debt's going to start coming due? Because if we're not going to be able to afford that debt, I need to know it now. So if you could, maybe find out when it's going to be due so we can have that date, target date. Thank you.
I'm not, too much, but I guess this is how rumors do start. We didn't have the ordinance in effect, but there was something called a project labor agreement. There was a project labor agreement both for the rebuilding of the boardwalk and the project labor agreement for rebuilding of the pavilions. Project labor agreement is much, much stronger language than responsible contractor language. So it's to say that one, why would you vote on it when you didn't have it? Well, it actually had much more stronger, but it's only for that one project. And to be sure, it's much stronger than responsible contract law. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Sam Fennell. I live on 227 15th Avenue. I'm a union pipe fitter, and I know the person who came up on my lawn for a petition had no idea what an apprentice program was. And he was sitting there trying to explain to me how bad the apprenticeship is to our town. Well, I know for sure that it works. And we're a local 9 pipe fitter, and anybody here who sign a petition is more than welcome to come to our place and see what we do. It's a 5-year program. We put out almost $250,000 per apprentice for the 5 years they're there. So if you really want skilled workers, I would think about what he wants to do. That's all. Thank you.
Claire Dyke, 1017 14th Avenue. I'm only commenting because my name was mentioned. In the letter I sent out, I enumerated the many successes our mayor has had during Sandy, before and after, and how his leadership during Sandy has spoken to the new development in town and the number of people coming to town because they have confidence in what he did. People, not politics, means we focus on the people. And I mean everybody on the council. You also. I don't know why that's funny. I didn't laugh or boo when everybody else was speaking, so you would afford me the courtesy, please. So I meant what I said in the letter. I think that the council is doing a great job. People above politics. The turmoil that has been perpetuated in the media has sickened a lot of people, including myself. I think it's time that it stops. I think it's time that we have faith in our mayor. He's done a great job. People have said to me, whether you agree or disagree with him on certain issues, you have to say how beautiful the town looks. How, excuse me, how we have our downtown is flourishing. How we have so many new people coming to houses, buying houses. How our downtown hasn't looked better in years. That's what I meant about people, not politics. And I thank you for the people who were being polite while I spoke.
Let's look at the over with, right? David Schneid, 302 C Street. First of all, under the project labor agreement, we got 10 bids. We got 10 bids, right, when we had the project labor agreement. But then after the responsible bidder ordinance was introduced and at least made public, check your stopwatch, okay?
No. Just again, and I hate to do this, I hate to interrupt you, but this is how rumors spread. There was a project labor agreement on the first round of bidding. There was a project labor agreement on the second round of bidding.
Right.
There was no difference.
No, but on the first and second round of bidding, there were a lot more bids, right, than on the most recent one, right?
There were less bids in the second round, but there were no changes to the bid documents, the bid specifications,
No, but
the requirements that they abide by a project labor agreement.
you have the 2014 -1 already introduced. Anyway, I got a lot was said here, so let me just buzz through this real fast. You know, the ordinance reads that if they don't have a apprenticeship program, that in that case we pay them even more, right, for these workers that are supposedly even less skilled. Ms. DeSantis brought this up a couple of meetings ago, so that just makes no sense at all. If somebody hasn't been through an apprenticeship program, why are we paying them a journeyman's wage instead of an apprentice's wage? So it just doesn't even make any sense. Number two, I would like to ask, who built this building? Do they have an apprenticeship program?
No.
It's okay, right? It was held through Sandy, it's an older building, right? I think they did okay, right? No? So I think you can build a pretty good building without having an apprenticeship program, you know? Look, most buildings are built without apprenticeship programs, and they're staying up there. And Ms. Blackburn, it's not my responsibility to provide good jobs for other people. Okay? I need a good job myself. all right? So I don't want you taking money from me to provide better jobs for other people. You're not here to provide jobs. You're here to get the best bang for the buck for us, okay? And as far as having a situation where nothing can get done, I think people already mentioned that all you have to do is get rid of the ordinance. We can go full steam on getting everything done. And Mr. Mayor, you mentioned all the private development that's going on in town here, and that's all done without an apprenticeship program, or probably even without union labor. So have there been any workplace injuries? Has it been dangerous? Have the buildings fallen down? They look like quality buildings to me, right? So, you know, we don't want people injured whether they're working on government projects or private projects, so maybe we should have a requirement that private development use an apprenticeship program, right? But we don't want anybody hurt, right? And as far as making some changes to the ordinance, you know, I'm not on the petition, on the committee of petitioners. I did collect petitions, and I don't want to have to do it over again, okay? It was a lot of work. Accept it the way it was, or get rid of it, but don't just make some change, and then if we're dissatisfied with the change, we got to go out and spend another 3 weekends collecting petitions. I don't want to do it. The workshop session, I don't understand really why it was so important to you to get Councilman Bean's approval, right? Because you never needed his approval for anything else you did, right? You just steamrolled right over him, right? So why was it so important to get his okay on changes? It doesn't matter, right? You're going to do what you want to do. That's what you always did, right? Never asked him, never held up anything else because he objected. And as far as just saving this for big jobs, it's a big job that matter, right? It's a big job that runs into millions of dollars, where the difference could be hundreds of thousands, or even $1 million. And in Belmar, it seems like every job is big, doesn't it? Every job is expensive. Sorry, there's so much was said tonight. No other elected official's wife is working for Ashford or Wyuna or anything else that has anything to do with the town. Jim's wife is a stay-at-home mom, so I don't know why, you know, that's relevant what other people's wives do. And as far as the lawsuit coming too late, nobody having an issue with the 2014-1, you may recall I strongly objected the night it was introduced. What was it, January 28th? And I was ignored. I'm sure you all remember that. And now it's only because of the petitions and the lawsuit that we're even talking about it. So thanks, that's all I have to say.
And again, just to try to control some rumors, there's a lot of private development going on, and in some cases they do use union labor. It's up to them. But to say that there's no union labor in private jobs in Belmar, again, is factually inaccurate.
Yeah, but they're spending their own money.
And I understand that there's this attempt to try to make a boogeyman to say that it's union versus non-union. I'm telling you, it's just, at the end of the day, it's political nonsense, so hopefully it won't fall for it. And Dave, one of the things I do remember, and it's in the meeting minutes, was you thanking us when we put in the language for the training.
Yeah, because I was fooled. I didn't realize it was a trick.
I heard you for 6 Paul Drive, Huntsville, New Jersey. I'm going to start out with a petition that, if you're familiar with Penn and Teller, walked around, and it was to ban the use of dihydrogen monoxide. If anybody saw this, because it's used in the process in almost every chemical plant. It's used in almost every chemical solvent. Water. More people have died from being immersed in dihydrogen monoxide than any other chemical. in its solid state. In the state of New Jersey, it's responsible for hundreds of deaths every year. And if a human were to ingest 6 gallons of dihydrogen monoxide at one time, they would die. Now, how many chemistry students are in here that know that dihydrogen monoxide that they walked around and got petitions signed for is water? And people signed this petition because somebody said dihydrogen monoxide. Those were all true things that they said. I'm not so sure that happened with this. So let me just explain a little bit about how construction works. Companies don't want a bunch of idiots running around who don't know their jobs. The companies that are building these houses and doing this, whether they're union or non-union, the non-union companies that I know of that are responsible in this state and in this country, the responsible ones that do a good job that those buildings stay standing, want to make sure they have people that know what they're doing. They don't want things burning down. They don't want mold in their buildings. They don't want tanks that, the water system that you use, everything is responsible. It comes back to the citizens. The citizens deserve to have a responsible job done. Responsible contractor. The reality is there are people who will litigate. Maybe somebody right next door who wants to make money litigating. Because frankly, when he was the mayor, he talked about all this same stuff when he went to the unions and said, I'll do this for you and I'll do that for you. So I don't trust people who are two-faced and change their minds. As I'm a little concerned about other people who have been in meetings who have said, oh, this is a good idea, we should do this, and then next thing don't think it's a good idea. And if anybody wants to ask me about that, I'll have it taken care of. But this is the kind of stuff that goes on when people say one thing to one person and say something to something else. You heard from, there are a lot of people in this room that live in this community and want to make sure what's done right. They want people over politics, not to point to any one person, but that's what it should be, people over politics. And this thing about taking a working person's job and saying that's what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to make this somebody who's trying to make a living and feed their family in this community, that's going to be who we're going to make the boogeyman? I don't think that's right. And I don't think anybody in their heart and mind, and anybody who sits up at that day should think that's a smart thing to do. Now let me just say something about the apprenticeship and about journeyman, because that's just bogus crap that I heard. The reality is in the state of New Jersey, and I encourage you to ask your attorney about this, the state of New Jersey said if you as a municipality want to bid a project, that project should be done by people who are qualified. And the only way we can kind of do that is we can say, what do qualified journeymen in that field make in that area, in that county? What is the average electrician, pipe fitter, tin knocker, mason, what do they make? What's the person make in that area? And what's that journeyman making? So the state says, listen, we don't want you to pay the lowest rate. We don't want you to pay someone who doesn't know their job. We want the employer who is hiring those people to pay the rate in that area so they know they're getting someone who's qualified and knows what they're doing. The reality is, if you don't have journeymen and you don't have an apprenticeship program, you can't pay less. So to say that the responsible contracting ordinance would allow people, or not having the responsible contracting ordinance would allow somebody to hire a bunch of helpers on the job that have no skills but get paid a lot less is a complete fallacy. It's factually inaccurate, and I've heard somebody tell me that they directly heard from somebody who has an office very close to this place that he was espousing that. That's not true. I will challenge that anywhere. People who know the law and should know the difference shouldn't lie. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the fact you were honest enough as one politician to tell us that you're not planning on running, because other people in the state, they won't tell us, they're being coy. You're a guy I'm very happy as the mayor of this town, and I will do everything I can to help keep you there. Thank you very much. I'm with the IBEW.
What number is that, local?
I'm with Local 400.
400. Do you live in Belmar?
No, I gave my address, 846 Paul Drive, Toms River, New Jersey.
Did they donate to Mayor Matt this year?
Did they donate? I don't know.
Local 400?
I don't know, maybe they
Yeah,
did.
they gave $3,000. You're a union.
Let me tell you, you want Belmar to look like Seaside? Because, sir, I live right down the street from Seaside. They didn't do their boardwalk. They didn't do what's right. They hired a bunch of unqualified people. They're still in the court system for that. They're still in litigation over that boardwalk being redone.
Disclosure, please tell us that you donated to them.
I didn't donate to
Well,
them.
your union did. You're going to benefit
Okay,
from this.
so are you a Republican?
Doesn't matter.
No, you're asking me a question, I'm asking, are you a Republican? Are you running under the Republican Party? No, you're gonna ask me a question I can't ask you. Are you responsible for everything the Republican Party does?
I'm gonna do what the mayor does. Please leave your name and email address and I'll get back to you.
Just for the record, my campaign account, Authority for Mayor, has not received any contributions from any union. Another campaign account I'm associated with, election fund of Doherty and Brennan, did not receive any campaign contributions from any unions. Anyone tells you otherwise, it's like these other crazy rumors, it's simply not true.
It's the Belmar Democratic Committee, my fault. I apologize, the Belmar Democratic
So
Committee.
you accuse me of something that you know, bold-faced lie. Bold-faced lie, and you should know better. You should know better. You didn't take any money from a lobbyist on any of your points.
Quiet. Thank you very much. Hold on one second, folks. Go back to Tom's.
They got plenty of room to stay. So it must be something else. Yes.
My name is Jenny Young. I live at 303 9th Avenue. And I'm first generation. My father came right off the boat. So when you talk about, you don't like Democrat or Republican, that's what happens in the United States of America. And I'm proud that I am a citizen of the United States of America. About 2-3 weeks ago, had someone come to my door and talk about some of these issues. When I asked the gentleman some questions, he was making some verbal attacks about Maggie Moran, who is Matt's wife. So when I asked him about some of the facts, he said, well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about that. He actually said, maybe I shouldn't say this. So folks, I think it's great to have freedom of speech. I applaud it, and I wish people would be respectful here. I think it would be very important that people are respectful to whatever party you're in. All this yelling is really, I think, below us. So when I asked this gentleman about the facts, he said, well, maybe I really shouldn't say that because I don't know the facts. Please, folks, speak up, but don't disparage people, especially when you don't know the facts. I also hope that as a council, we can resolve this. I don't want tax dollars spent on lawyers. I don't care whose lawyer it is. I prefer that tax dollars are not spent on lawyers. I think we should respect all of the council folks. I think we should respect what they've done. I think that we should respect, especially during the storm, what people have done. And I think that you should figure out a way to work this out because it's gotten out of hand already. We're a small town. I like living here. I love living here. But I don't want my money spent, not one more cent, on lawyers. Go in a room, figure it out, make it work so that we have a civil society here in Belmar. What I see here right now is not civil. And as adults, I hope that we can role model civil behavior so that our kids, and I know a lot of you have kids here on the dais, that our kids wouldn't care what party you're a part of, they would see civil behavior in action. Thank you.
Council, my name is Fred Marziano. I live at 208 2nd Avenue. And I just have 4 or 5 points and a couple of questions that I would hope might be answered this evening. It's my understanding that there are some 565 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. And less than 5% of those municipalities agree with the council that the apprenticeship requirement for bidding would be a requirement for any of their projects that they bid. So my question is, why is 95% of the state and all the other municipalities right and are wrong, and why are you right? You're 4.5%, you represent a pool of 4.5% of the entire state. What makes you right and the rest wrong?
I would sort of answer that by saying there's probably not a whole lot of towns in the state that's had no property tax increase in the last 4 years.
And perhaps maybe when they see ours is working, they'll start moving in that direction too. So who's to say it's only going to be 5% 5 years from now? It might be increased. It might be growing because this new ordinance we have works. Just because we're one of the first on board doesn't mean we're wrong.
You're saying that this ordinance works and that's the reason why we haven't had a property tax increase?
No, I'm saying that the reason we're only 5% is other towns have not tried it yet. They may be sitting back watching to see what towns that have adopted it, how it affects their projects. And if it works, they'll move in that direction in the years to come. So just because only 4% right now or 5% doesn't mean they've rejected it. It means they haven't tried it yet. And they will if we perform.
So I guess they're stupid then because they...
No, I didn't say that, did I? No.
Well, that kind of leads me into one of my other points. And that is listening to you saying you have no idea how much debt we are about to face. Makes me wonder, if you don't know how much debt we are about to face, how can you be proposing more debt?
No one said we have no idea how much debt we're about to
You
face.
did.
I want to give an accurate statement. If I knew someone was going to come here and ask me a question, I would give you an accurate statement.
Then can you give us
No
an
one's proposing-
approximation
no one's proposing-
within 5 million?
I'm not going to give you an approximation, I'm going to give you an exact number. If you want to email me, I'll give it to you tomorrow. And no one is proposing to any more debt tonight. You understand that, right?
I understand that's the issue tonight, yes.
Okay, because you said it was. Go ahead.
That's not what I said. I said, how can you be proposing more debt when you don't even know how much debt we have? I didn't mean that you were proposing it tonight.
We're not proposing $6 million.
But it seems like very often you keep proposing that we take on more
But
debt.
we are just been told that we're not proposing anything.
We told them $6 million. It just seems.
I guess I've never really understood the reason why the apprenticeship provision was put in to begin with, when it was put in at the last minute. I've never been given a reason why at that time it was thought to be necessary. Maybe you can help me understand that tonight.
The apprenticeship provision was not put in last night.
The journeymans, whichever. The one that's the subject of the discussion and debate.
Sure, I can answer that for you. At the time, we had first reading introduction. Between that and second reading, I expanded our reach to make sure we're doing this the right way. Interacting with some non-union contractors, they said, hey, listen, for us, it would be helpful if you, because some of us don't have apprenticeship programs, but we still have highly skilled, well-trained people. But obviously, in that, you want to make sure you have the best contractors. We agree with that. Most people do. But if you put in journeyman's rate, that ensures that you expand that pool. So it's not union or non-union. Again, it's not union or non-union. But it was from non-union contractors who wanted that. And again, as Councilman Governor said before, what we do is we come up with ideas, we listen to people, we make changes.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer.
I mean, that's why there's a first reading and a second reading. After a first reading, you might see something to improve that ordinance, and that's what we felt we did.
And that's when you would give people advance notice that that's going, that provision proposed for amendment. Then.
Actually, Fred, it's supposed to be going during a workshop session. That's when we hash out the differences. And then the first reading and second reading are supposed to be the exact same written ordinance.
Yeah.
I would just kind of think out loud here and say, we don't like to have legal expenses, that's for sure. Nobody likes to spend money on lawyers. But I would just ask that the five of you look into your hearts and say, if we were to be a little more above board, if we were a little bit more thoughtful about how this might appear from an ethical standpoint, or how it might appear to the majority of the population in our community, and consider that before you make a decision, and not just try to blow off petitions where people say that this is what we feel we would like to have happen in our community, and just kind of blow it.
I will tell you that I'm totally ethical and I'm totally above board, and if you're saying that I am not ethical or I'm doing anything dishonest, you are wrong, sir.
I'm not saying you are.
You just said it.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. There's also a part of ethics that deals with the perception of ethics. Whether
And everybody perceives something differently, not how Fred Marziano perceives it. There's so many people in here that hear what you say. You're saying one thing, and everybody in here is hearing something different. It's very possible.
That's very
And
possible.
the fact that you're saying that I may not be ethical or I may not be above board, sir, I want everybody to understand I am. Don't accuse me of being on that phone.
Anything more?
All right.
Okay. I guess the last thing I would just ask is perhaps Ms. Dyke. Your letter was really a very good letter. It was very thoughtful. It was from the heart. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But we're also talking here about people above politics.
Correct.
And that was a nice letter from a people person. But why was it then paid for by the Democratic Committee?
Well, I'm a member of, I can answer that.
That sounds to me like that's politics.
Well, it
Discussion,
I
I can,
answer that.
you can answer me after, you can't really talk right now.
Okay.
because it's just my focus.
All right.
You can put that question out there. My guess is because it's, not everyone has the money of very successful attorneys who pay for it themselves. Maybe that's why she used the Democratic Committee, where she's the chairman.
So that really came then from the Democratic Committee as opposed to you personally?
It came from me
Again,
personally.
if you read the letter, as I did, it was addressed from her personally. She has the title. And again, my guess is, since she's not a wealthy, successful attorney who sues his own town, she had the Democratic Party pay for it because, again, everyone gets it, right? This is all political, right? And that's why she's trying to make the point, we need to put people over politics. What's going on here?
But the political committee sent it out.
That's the same, I wasn't mistaken when I said that the union gave $3,000 to Mayor Doherty. They gave it to the Belmar Democratic Committee. So the committee that sent out that letter, the union paid $3,000 for it.
All right. Thank you very much.
That union.
Started campaign season too.
Why not? Why can't I? Why can't I?
Hello, Bob Ahern, 511 Fifth Avenue. I've been in construction all my life, and I'd just like to ask one question. Is this somehow an attempt to circumvent paying prevailing wages on projects? You got to excuse my ignorance on the matter. I know the training program has been brought up as the reason, but I'm a little suspect that the ulterior motive is to circumvent prevailing wages. Is that the case?
Who are you asking?
The council? I mean, if one of these contractors is rewarded,
That's a good point, because if they pay only apprenticeship wages, which is below prevailing wage, is that correct, Mayor? Do you know?
No, they don't.
They can't.
No. They can't by law.
Folks, we can't yell from the back.
I've worked in construction, non-union contractors can take union-specific jobs, but they must pay prevailing wages.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking, is that what, in the long run, we're trying to avoid in order to reduce the cost of construction?
No. On any public project, you have to pay for that.
Okay. Oh, thank you for the answer. Good luck.
Yes, Councilman.
Connie Delaporta, Swan Palace. 2002, my state Belmar. I hear about union contractors and union, and I want to say this. Years, over 100 years, when our union contracts was building high-rises, buildings, any kind, they fell down. We have to have it one way, no way. That's not fair. We should look for the taxpayers' benefits. We are the taxpayers, and we have to contribute and elect for protect us. Please state why so hard that 5,000 and 10,000 pavilion you have to spend all the $1 million when you can get better price with iUnion. People, they have to leave. Union, non-union, construction, business, they should be leave. And another thing, I have to ask a question, because I pay extra tax bill from 10th Avenue, not me only, whoever from 10th Avenue to 16th Avenue, we pay extra tax bill for the government body, black, all the streets, all kind of festivals. And we have to get out our houses, not be able to sleep, not be able to park it. And all the tenants upstairs, whatever they are, we suffer. We have to, this is illegal, to blacken the streets for some kind of private affairs, for some people to be and some people to, from 10 times this way, the business die, and to any mayor, any government body has a right to do that, to block the streets and sidewalks for private sectors.
Sure. We do festivals and the business community asks
They
us
do?
to block.
And we have to suffer, not be able to park in our cars where we're supposed to park?
Your position known to the council, but if it's local streets, they certainly have the right to regulate them in any fashion.
But there's a government body does that, make uncomfortable all of us with the music, blast music, this and that. This is, we suffer. My health is being affected out of that.
I think you should voice your
I
opinion on that,
did not
and on
know
any
shit.
future festivals or whatever. I think you let your opinion be known, and they would take that into consideration when they entertain any additional or any
Every
future
business in
applications.
town has to be able to survive. Not some business, not for some people and not for others. I'm not in business, but I'm still concerned. Everybody has to. No government body, I believe, and I ask you if they have a right to do what they do.
If you're asking if the municipality has the right to
block the streets for
Let me finish the question
private
off.
sectors, for private people.
Well, then they made a determination that it's in the public interest. Yes, they do.
Public interest? And what happened to the people we wait for quality life and summertime for ourselves, to enjoy our summer, to enjoy our patio, to enjoy ourselves, and we can't do it because of some the immigrants. I'm an immigrant. I'm proud to be an immigrant. And they don't, because of immigrants, they don't have no voice. They have a voice. Please pay attention to taxpayers in town, all town, not some people living peaceful and living in, enjoy their summer. I have to leave from this country to go to another country because of that mess. It's a mess. You talk about mayor, ex-mayor. Don't talk about ex-mayor. Because anything you know, you learn from him. You remember when I said to you, please, don't fight each other. It's not right for us. As a people, we don't want to do that. Because we create friends to friends and neighbors to neighbors to destroy each other. And that's not fair. Please.
One thing she mentioned, which again, guess I say this ad nauseum, but the pavilions, there were both union and non-union contractors that bid on it. The lowest bidder was a union contractor. The second lowest bidder was a non-union contractor. If the non-union contractor was the lowest bidder, we would have selected the non-union contractor. So again, the idea of union versus non-union, it's not real. It's part of, Connie, I think you described it really well. It's part of this crazy fight in a town where we're doing great, and I can tell you that, I think I speak for most of the council up here, probably all of them, that there's nothing more important than taxpayers. That's why we haven't had a tax increase in 4 years. That's very important. Brian made it fun. Thank you, George.
Mark Levis, 904 13th Avenue. I think a lot of people forget how bad it was almost 2 years ago after Sandy came. And the people in this room who think that we wouldn't have any debt after something like that have got to be out of their mind. If you saw the way the beach looked, and the way the boardwalk looked, you saw that we had a lot of work to do. And our council and the people we elected did their job and got that stuff done. And we can't be playing Monday morning quarterback every time we disagree with a decision that was made. We can't be having referendums every single time we don't get our way, because it's majority speaks here.
What was his name, Mike? Who was it?
Mark.
Okay. Mark.
Yes.
Joy DeSaints, 101 6th Avenue. I want to try to clarify this petition because I honestly believe several members of the council do not have a grasp on it. We're talking about a federal apprentice program that is layered on top of the existing New Jersey state apprentice program. It's a layering, it's a second layer, it's addition. It's 2 apprentice programs. It's more registration money and sponsorships that the contractors have to participate in. So we're not talking about not having any apprenticeship program. We're talking about removing a federal U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship program. So I don't think that's clear, and I don't think that everybody understands that. We're not saying we don't want unions. We want unions. We want unions because unions have already apprentice programs built into their own labor unions. So they exist already. There are plenty of protections in the state through the Department of Labor that provides contractors with the ability to work safely. They have workers' comp. We have OSHA. There are many, many regulatory bodies that are in place that help municipalities protect themselves so they do not have shoddy workmanship. So I think if that was understood clearer, or if anyone visited the U.S. Department of Labor's website, they could read about it and they would understand it. This program, Brian, has been in place for 75 years. It's not a new program, it just had an anniversary. So I wanted to clear that up. I don't want to speak to the journeyman's wage right now because it's just a little bit too confusing. I feel that most people simply do not grasp that this petition, that this ordinance forces unskilled workers to be paid at a journeyman's rate. A journeyman's rate is a higher level, a level achieved after you have been an apprentice for a certain period of time, typically maybe 4 years. I also really wanted to address that Local 9 union representative because Specifically, Local 9 does not participate in the U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship program. So with all due respect to him, his union is not under any signatory contract to participate in the U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship program. So I really felt that he should know that. And he felt very strongly that he had a good union and that he had a good apprenticeship program, and in fact he does. He just doesn't belong to the federal one. With regard to Mayor Doherty's letter that he sent, you indicated there were 4 municipalities that had similar sounding ordinances. Well, you are inaccurate. 2 of them have no such ordinance. I contacted them, actually I was contacting them while April was contacting them as well, and I think that you should rescind that because 2 of those towns, Brick and Howell, have absolutely no responsible bidder ordinances. Neptune has the closest, and Lake Como does not have the federal U.S. Department of Labor. They only have the Department of Labor, which I would assume would be the State Department of Labor. So the only one that was close is Neptune. Neptune also has a really, really high tax rate. And the reason they have a really, really high tax rate is because they have to pay higher amounts to build projects. And that is then transferred to the property tax owners. Another reason that this responsible bidder, the federal U.S. Department responsible bidder requirement is not used a lot and is less than 4% used in municipalities is because it's very, very hard to enforce. As an example, Epic used 4 subcontractors in their contract for building the pavilions. 2 of those were not union companies.
One of the pieces of information she mentioned, it's not accurate, is Neptune. Neptune recently passed their responsible contract language ordinance. I don't believe it's been in effect for any project, so the idea that Neptune has a higher tax rate than us because of the projects is not true. And again, I would tell you that there's nothing more important for me as the mayor than making sure that we keep taxes flat as we have for the last 4 years here in Belmar. And we totally committed to them as a public servant. Want to say something? Yeah. Mike?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Seabeck, 110 Second Avenue. I'd like to just start out tonight by telling you guys a quick little story. I came to the last council meeting and I saw the presentation by Mazer on the outfall pipe. And I saw the number, $6 million for what amounts to about 600 some odd feet of pipe, works at like $9,500 a foot. I was aghast. It's a lot of money. It's obviously a very important project, but it was a lot of money. So the first thing I did was I Googled, I ran into the town of North Myrtle Beach, who's on their 5th outflow pipe. And I called him up. And believe it or not, an engineer called me back in about 30 minutes. And I got into a conversation with him, and he was talking about his project and stuff like that, offered to have me come down and view it and stuff. I said, no, I'm not that guy. I'm just asking some questions. Well, to boil down to the point of the story was, when I told him about what we were doing, there was a pause, and out of his mouth, in the nice southern drawl, came a very interesting statement. He said to me, he goes, Mike, why would anybody in their right mind put ductile iron pipe in the Atlantic Ocean? What I'm trying to raise is, are we doing any value engineering? Are we using other towns that are partners with us in this project, using their engineers, their resources to achieve the best value we can? Because one of the underlying concerns most people in the community have, myself included, is I'm not worried about my children's jobs at the moment, Janice, and I do appreciate the long-term thinking. I'm worried about my job and my ability to stay here and raise my family and stay in town. So I'd like immediate results.
Thank you.
I'd like people to go out there and start the debate you guys all had tonight, which started getting going. My compliments to you, Council President McGovern. But in the same breath, I'm still disappointed by the fact that, Mayor Doherty took the time to explain how he was reaching out to non-union contractors that may or may not have been bidders on our project, and yet here we had 400 residents sign a petition, and no one picked up the phone and reached out to any of them. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that just doesn't make sense to me. People are going through all of this effort for a reason. It's not just to spend their Saturdays or Tuesday afternoons or whatever to walk around the neighborhoods and collect petitions. Everybody's got something better in their life to do. People want to be heard. People want discussion. People want debate. Councilman Governor, to come out tonight and say, well, we're just going to lop off or throw a number in there, 500,000, I'm not entirely sure that's enough. I think we have to have, cost-benefit analysis of what this ordinance may or may not do. Because at the end of the day, I can default to what I read in the newspaper, which is very simple. It's usually in the headline someplace. The Manasquan Eastern Pavilion, I think, was $1.1 million all in. The Avalon Pavilion was $1.3 million all in. And we're at $7 million. We're at $1 million in engineering. These numbers just jump off the page. They clobber. And I'm reading about the pension funds in this state, which have now gone from $56 billion in unfunded status to $90 billion. Lead me to believe it's pretty simple. We're entering a phase here where things are going to start getting dangerous unless we rein them in. Personally, I think it almost might be too late, but hell, I'm still going to try. So, like my call to South Carolina, what I'd like to hear from the council is genuine, efforts being made to fight like hell for us taxpayers, not for our children, with all due respect, for us now. You have the debate now. Don't go in there into a council meeting and start saying, and then find out after a lawsuit, a petition, oh, well, maybe we should talk about it now, because it's not effective. It's not effective. If it's about the people, let's start walking up and down the streets and saying, New Jersey resident, what's your #1 concern? My damn property taxes. How expensive it is to live in this state. It's pretty simple. It's usually in the newspaper like 3 times a day. You don't have to be a research analyst to find those things. So at the same time, people are telling you this stuff, and then they're seeing $6 million for this and $7 million for that, and all of this and all that. I just want to know that everybody's working as hard as they can and feeding back. And if 400 people petition you, pick up the bloody phone and call somebody. Don't call a contractor who may or may not bid. Call the residents who definitely have to pay. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
I'm glad Mike did bring up property taxes. I agree. I think there's probably the #1 issue on people's minds. And that's why, to reiterate, the 8th time tonight, Belmar has had no property tax increase. We already had folks talk. Pat, I'm not going to call on you. You were screaming out before when other people were talking. You're going to be rude. You're not going to call on you. See anyone else for a first time? Oh, Brendan. First time. Oh, yeah.
Brendan Reed, 109th Avenue. First off, I want to thank Council President McGovern for opening the ordinance for amendment. Compromise and consensus is how we get things done. Consensus is how building codes and standards like the National Electrical Code are written in the editor of a newsletter covering the National English Code many years ago. But even building codes like the NEC are each edition are stronger and safer than previous editions. So it is reasonable to expect a higher level of safety going forward. We have to move on, we have to progress. Let's look at some hard, cold facts regarding building construction. If you have untrained, inexperienced workers, supervisors, and contractors, the chances are greater that there will be more injuries and fatalities than if they have the skills and the experiences to do the job right. And when these poorly qualified personnel are working in large commercial construction projects, like the pavilions, the odds will increase. Not only will there be more accidents, but they will be gruesome and deadly. Like exposure to live electrical parts and wires, ceiling and floor collapses, gas leaks, explosions, falls, fires, impalements from misuse tools. Part of my job, I used to have to watch a time-lapse video of someone dying of electrical burns. Building inspections don't catch everything. Mistakes can maim and kill others long after the project has been finished. But mistakes can also cause losses even when no one is hurt. Like a roof leak that was a wedding party inside the New Taylor Pavilion, resulting in likely legal action against the borough and social media outrage. Safety and quality is expensive, but it is a bargain compared to poor quality and a lack of safety. We can't afford the lawsuits and lost tourism dollars as a consequence of poorly trained workers and shoddy workmanship. So let's work out a compromise that keeps contracts affordable while protecting the lives of the public. And one other word about the Avon Pavilion. The Avon Pavilion was built on the border that was reconstructed from Sandy, so whereas Belmar Pavilions will require separate footprints, and also the Avon Pavilion is not year-round, unlike the Taylor Pavilion, and also the public safety building.
And also, to add on to that, the Avon Pavilion is really not a pavilion, it's an Avon restaurant. That's all it has there is a restaurant. Hopefully people understand. It's not a pavilion like the Taylor Pavilion we had before Sandy destroyed it. They used to have a pavilion.
It was a tent this year.
Which was a tent this year. Yes, Mike?
Michael Drews, 12/11/16. First of all, I'm going to preface this by saying that what I'm about to say is just business. It's not personal to anybody, as we say in my family. So, that being said, some of the information given us today was erroneous. Number one, after 30, 40 years of experience with the Department of Labor and Workforce Development in New Jersey, there is only one apprenticeship program overseer, and that's the federal government, not two. In the apprenticeship program, we can pay lower wages than journeyman labor. And that could be anywhere from 50% less to 90% less, depending where they are in the apprentice program. That would reduce costs. Prevailing wage, as was enumerated earlier, is the average per county of the various craft industries based upon labor contracts. Also, when somebody discussed about what was being built in Manasquan or Avon or this pavilion, they were only talking about one pavilion versus the two we were talking about here. So if we're going to start comparing apples and oranges, let's try to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Another point I want to bring out is that I felt that certain councilmen, by refusing to give an opinion, abdicated their responsibility to which they were elected. They're elected to represent all the people of Belmar, not in a ward system. I think that we deserve to give their opinion on every single ordinance. Another point I wanted to make, and this is on a positive note, is that the present council in its form, and with Claire when she was here, was a leader among the shore communities. So much of a leader that the governor hitched his wagon to the Belmar Star, and now you can see where he's trying to go. If it wasn't for our mayor and the people on the council, people may have not seen Chris Christie that much on television. So apparently he saw something in our mayor that other people didn't. Finally, I mean, how can you deny the fact that we have been here and had no tax increases for 4 years? I dare anybody to show me any other municipality, county in the state that can say the same thing. And just, I'm going to say, you know, to me, everybody on this council, whether it's been Mr. Bean, Ms. Nicolai, Mr. Regalvo, Janice, Mayor Matt, they've always been open and available to me on anything. I don't always agree on everything, but they've all listened. So I, for one, you know, think that we have had excellent leadership and we should continue it that way. Thank you.
I'm not going to call on you tonight. I'm going to make a motion to close the public portion and adjourn. No. You want to speak? You got to raise your hand.
End yourself properly. Tom Kilberger, 1000 River Road. I'd just like to speak about unionism for a minute. I worked on my first union job when I was 15 years old. and I worked pretty steady all the way through until I was 64, when I retired. And I'm a union man all the way. I served on our executive board for several years. I was a part of my apprentice program and on the apprentice committee. I wasn't going to talk tonight at all. I would never talk, and I'm not now talking against unions in any way. But what is understood this evening as unionism is a far cry from what I began as. But I saw it deteriorate over the years, and the deterioration began with the interference of courts. And then it went to government, the legislative bodies, and on and on and on. Any union man here that thinks anything coming out of this council or any governmental body at any level of this country is good for unionism is crazy. Nothing good comes out of playing with the government or governmental bodies. OSHA came out of government. And if you look back at OSHA, the one that was pushing OSHA was a woman named Lady Bird Johnson. And what was she other than the president's wife? She was the main cog in a non-union outfit named Brown and Root. It happened to be the biggest construction firm in the world. In the world, the whole world. Even Halliburton doesn't come near them. They're non-union down to their boots. And she pushed for OSHA. And the reason she pushed for OSHA was to come on to every union site known to mankind and hit the union outfits with fines, which they have done completely. If anybody goes to an OSHA course, which I've been to, unfortunately, a few, one thing they're very happy about now, they show you 5 minutes of just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling companies. And then afterwards, they tell the people taking the course that they were instrumental in driving those companies out of business. And most of those companies that they drove out of business are union companies. But you said that the next, Ms. Mayor, you said that the next bidder was a non-union company. The next highest, the lowest bidder was a non-union company. So if that's true, then you don't need the ordinance. You can rescind it, and everything is on the up and up. You had 10 bidders to begin with, and you then got down to 3, correct?
The ordinance did not apply to anyone bidding at any time on the pavilions or the boardwalk. And it has nothing to do with unions or non-unions. It's a red herring. That's why we're going in circles discussing something that's not, I mean, this is bad, but continue.
I'm getting to be like a month and a half short of 71 years old.
You look good.
Please don't tell me things like that. It's not, it has everything to do with unionism and non-unionism. But more so, as I keep saying, it has to do with you. You are government. As you sit there, you're the legislators here. You are government. You're at the lowest level, at the borough level. But you are government. You are government, and you constitute. You're gonna help these union people. You think, but maybe you will. Maybe you actually will. But down the road, you will be sitting there. You'll move on to wherever you go, whatever you do, and other people will be sitting there with different agendas. And those agendas might very well be anti-union, or as you people think you know about unionism, you know about work, you know about safety. I'm sorry, you know nothing about safety. I know about safety. I know about the weather. I know about getting hurt. I've seen other men hurt. I've seen them killed. And these are not good things to see, but these are things that happen. It's life.
It goes on. People hurt themselves. People smash their fingers, they break their foot, they break their arm. Everything known to mankind, whether the guy's got an apprentice program, or he's the greatest worker in the world, or the worst, they all hurt themselves. And everything in between. But this ordinance, it's malarkey. And you, please turn it down. And let me just say one thing. I'm in a real minority here. I don't want any pavilions. None of them.
Yes, sir.
But he's talking about the contract.
Kevin Duncan, 28 North Avenue, Fairhaven. To answer the nice woman's question tonight about this building, or the gentleman, I forget who asked it, it was built with an apprenticeship program contractor. Woodward Construction.
Yes, ma'am.
All these issues that we have.
Just name and address for the record.
Oh, okay. Is this okay?
Name and address for the record.
Maria Florio, 115 12th Avenue, and you know why I'm standing here. The issue, absolutely. The issue that I had company Saturday sitting on my deck, and you know what? Overdose in the Belmar Inn. Police cars, medical examiner. Now, I'm here 28 years. Before I leave Belmar, that building has to go. That's all I have to say.
All right, I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
All right, Dory, have your hand raised.
All in favor? Aye. Sorry, Pat, but if you're gonna be rude when other people are talking, you're not gonna get a chance to talk.
Hey, Dory?
I'll stay if you want to come up and talk.
You can talk to my, you can talk to the.
Town that had a storm like that.
Honey,